It's my life. Lazy. It's my life. I got dirty. It's my life.
And welcome back to Collect 'em All or Die Trying, the spoiler rooms, comic cliff notes. And don't forget to check out the links in the description for Coffee and a Comic to get your hands on the Maniac of New York or any other comic you might see on my channel, and how you can save 15% on your next order with my special coupon code. So go ahead, go spoil yourself. So before we kick things off, I want to avoid a little confusion because I wouldn't want the viewers to be as confused as I was, because the Maniac of New York and the Maniac of New York, The Bronx is Burning are two completely different stories. Yes, both do take place in New York City, but are two completely different timelines taking place in two completely different boroughs. Now, I will be covering both the Maniac of New York Volume 1 and the Maniac of New York, Bronx is Burning, Volume 2, hopefully simultaneously to keep up the story going. But I really hope you do enjoy it. And with that being said, welcome to the city that never sleeps, where the morgue always has an open spot for you. And welcome to Maniac of New York, Part 1, Heads in the Sand. Now, this series takes you back to the beginning of 2016, where it all started. The night that branded itself on the city that never sleeps. Nights where everyone and anyone can remember where they were. Everyone, that is, except for the dead, who were the lucky ones, because they won't remember the night that birthed the Maniac of New York. The massacre that took place in Times Square that left as many as 79 people dead, including 6 police officers. The start of a new year that will never be forgotten. As all this is being covered by KMN News of the 1-week anniversary vigil of the Times Square Massacre, where the Mayor DiMaggio had strong words for the attacker, stating along the lines that the city will never sleep and will never rest until Harry the Maniac is rotting behind bars and burning in hell. And these words are backed by the Speaker of the House, that they will ensure that something like this will never, ever happen again. Then we jump to April 3rd, 2020, where we quickly discover from New York One News Channel that not much has changed. And in fact, things have gotten a whole lot worse as residents wake up to the morning, not only to the road and weather reports, but to the Maniac report. Yeah, the Maniac report, where newscasters not only report on the Department of Transportation delays, but also unsubstantiated Maniac Harry sightings around the city, informing New York residents when it might be a good day to call in sick from work and just stay your ass home. Now, this is perfect context of how Harry has become an obstacle for people's lives and an overwhelming element for the residents of New York City, and there's nothing they can do about it. And there isn't anyone that is doing anything about it, because the next announcement on the news is about Harry's last 4 victims, which was about 2 weeks ago, New York University students in Washington Square Park. And instead of the urgency to bring this killer to justice, it's turned into a, you have to ask yourself, what were 2 young ladies doing out at those hours in the night to begin with? And it's ridiculous how normalized this has become and what people are forced to live with. You know, you might as well just move out of New York at this point. And let's not forget the mayor's office, Harry's safety tips to stay indoors when possible, be aware of your surroundings, and if you see something, scream something. Not that you're getting bloody murdered, but so people can know where the murderer is and get the hell out of Dodge. And yeah, that's a real smart tip if you want to get the attention of the Maniac. Might as well say, hey, I'm right over here, and if you choose me, I'll accidentally on purpose trip and fall on nothing. But the biggest announcement is the new automated subway train, which is the first ever driverless train which goes into the service on the C line that very day, which is supposedly going to make delays obsolete. As we jump back and forth between the news channels, Gina and Zelda getting ready for a new day, because Gina is the mayor's office new director of the Maniac Task Force. And Zelda is not only just a disgruntled cop, but a potential recruiter. As Gina straightens up her shirt and collar and pours a cup of coffee, and Zelda holsters her gun and badge and chugs some vodka, Now, let's have a good day and watch out for Harry out there. I'm getting a real Lethal Weapon vibe from this duo. Now, as Gina gets to the precinct, it's a madhouse. With the mayor's new automated train launch, everyone's making sure it gets off without a hitch. And Gina is about the only one taking the Maniac task force seriously. And Gina, she can't wait to hit the ground running with such a big responsibility. But everyone was surprised to hear that she volunteered, because usually they have to drag people in, kicking and screaming. Now, Gina, she's met with disappointment when told with laughter that she won't be meeting the mayor, and calls her Jennifer. This is the second time she's gotten her name wrong in like 2 minutes of meeting Gina, because she called her Judy the first time. Like, come on, man, at least get the name right. As she's taken to the closet of an office with just a table and a chair, not even a phone. Like, yeah, they really did slash the budget on the Maniac task force. Now, with confusion on her face, Gina wants to know if she can't talk to the mayor, how will she be able to assemble a team? And this is where she finds out that she is the team. She's the only one. And it's pretty apparent that nobody is taking Gina or the task force serious. Not even the mayor. Not one bit. And she don't mind if she gotta go at this alone, then so be it, as she puts up a very short to-do list with set up office scratched off, and the next step, to contact Detective Zelda Pettibone and get revenge. Now it's time to get up close and personal with Zelda Pettibone, who shows up at a crime scene asking for the details, and is tired of picking up every case these cops are just too lazy to solve, because when has Harry started shooting dudes point blank in the head? Because last time I checked, he was literally an axe-wielding maniac. But the cops, they make a deadly mistake asking Zelda to do them a favor and calls her a snitch, which gets him a stiff jab to the jaw by Zelda and a few more to back. Zelda has to be pulled off this guy before she mangles his face. But she eventually stops to take a phone call from Gina Green and schedules a meetup at a bar in Harlem. Now, the best thing to take away from this conversation between Gina and Zelda is Zelda's thoughts on Maniac Harry. That Harry, he isn't something that just gets solved. He simply just is. He's not a criminal, but a supernatural beast, a punishment brought upon the city, here to make the New York residents' lives a living hell until they can clean up their acts. And you just can't solve a case of divine wrath. Zelda goes on to say that it's impossible. The best advice is to lay low and leave Harry to the next fool. But Zelda gets convinced that Gina may be the real deal after her speech about the city and the whole country spending the last 4 years doing absolutely nothing, too distracted, too afraid, or just plain lazy to do anything about it. But she's convinced that they can do something about it. They would be able to find this monster and destroy him. Gina then goes on to chastise Zelda, telling her that if she's too chicken shit to help, then just stay out of her way, and then asks her why she even take the case if she felt the way she did. And Zelda, she explains to her that the only reason she's on Harry duty is because she fucked up trying to do the right thing, and that Gina shouldn't make the same mistake, until the bar television shouts out breaking news that Harry has struck again. And Gina, in a frantic panic, needs to rush back to her office and wants to commandeer Zelda's vehicle. Like, okay, Starsky and Hutch. She's going all Dukes and Hazzard, and Zelda tells her spots on. Relax, RoboCop, as the conversation continues in the car on the way back to the office. And in the car, Gina asks Zelda if she has ever seen Harry, and Zelda says no. She's only seen enough of his victims and dead bodies to know that whatever it takes to end him, she don't have it. To where Gina, she confirms that she's seen Harry. And when they get back to the precinct, Gina bursts through the doors with urgency, calling a code red, asking for details and to alert the mayor. As a quick pause and a moment of silence, everyone bursts out laughing and cracking jokes and downright teasing Gina like they're in a high school lunchroom. And yes, they got assholes here too, after thinking they were only standard police issue, and that it's perfectly clear to Zelda now that they're everywhere. Upon getting back to the office and looking at a map compiled with known Harry incidences, they both notice and can't figure out why there is a Harry free zone, 81st Street and Central Park West. Like, he's avoiding it. And Zelda, she points to a picture on the office wall of a man Gina confirms to be Josh Rosenberg, which was Harry's first victim. And Zelda isn't familiar, and she's read all the incident reports, and none mention a Josh Rosenberg. What is Gina not telling her? The story is that Josh Rosenberg was a fling Gina had 10 years ago at Camp Glasswater Lake, where both were camp counselors. And the maniac back then, he didn't have a name yet, but she's pretty sure that Harry killed him. And she was scared to do something then, but she's not scared to do something now. And Gina, she gets the vibe that Zelda truly wants to put a stop to Harry. And Zelda shows a sense of compassion as she explains that she's haunted by the night of the Times Square murders in 2016. All those people crammed and nowhere to run, and can't help but to pray that it doesn't ever happen again. Gabriella Acosta isn't really enjoying her ride on the first fully automated train. Lost in her own thoughts of aches and pains, too much work and little sleep, doing what she needs to stay afloat in the city. Her rent is being raised despite the fact that there's a maniac running rampant in the city, and the fact that she's just too poor to support a daughter in a place where even the poor neighborhoods are expensive, and feels like Maniac Harry ain't doing his job by allowing some assholes to shove women on the train. And where is Harry when the tourists are driving up costs of living, or when the Wall Street pricks knock down family homes to build luxury towers, and wishes that Harry could just erase them all? But little does she know, Harry is about to work in that overtime, and Gabriella's wish is about to come true as the doors open to the next stop, and Maniac Harry is standing in the open door of what's now called the Death Train. And there are 221 people on this train, and most won't be making it home tonight. To be continued. And here's a bit extras that I thought were really cool to throw in there. And what we have here is a quick book review of Gardner Birnbaum's Bloody New Year, The Maniac, the Massacre, and the Murder of a City, which left a bad taste in my mouth. The fact that Birnbaum, or any person for that matter, can profit off the maniac's crimes and the sordid tragedies of life is just gruesome and frightening. And this is the quick book review that they have on here. Then we have a cool newspaper clipping of Gina Green's first maniac kill back in 2009, 7 years before the Times Square Massacre. The McCoys, owners of the camp, declared bankruptcy after defeating a wrongful death civil suit related to the unsolved murders of 4 camp counselors. And the police, they shut down the investigation after the only eyewitness was moved to court-ordered psychiatric help. Now, I'm inclined to think that the eyewitness was Gina Green. And last but not least, there's a map of all the known major maniac incidences. And there are a lot. Also, the fact that it mentions that the incidents with 3 or fewer casualties aren't even noted or listed, which means there's a whole lot more than what you see. This shows you how Maniac Harry has terrorized the city, and why I wonder people still even live there. So this map documents the dates and locations of each Maniac Harry incident, and the amount of deaths and the number of those wounded on each incident. Just looking at this is insane, and the amount of deaths and wounded is like, how does anyone say, yes, I will continue to live here like it's the forever purge? Now, upon looking closer at the map, number 1, which was the Times Square Massacre, had 85 deaths and 33 wounded. And then later on that year in December, on the 23rd, days before Christmas, there were 30 deaths and 4 wounded. And then 10 and 11, just after New Year's on the 7th, there was 2 different locations just blocks apart where there were 15 deaths and 45 wounded, and then 23 deaths and 14 wounded, which equal to the amount of 38 dead and 63 wounded. Like, wow, Happy New Year. Man, that was a banger introduction to the Maniac of New York. What do you guys think? Is Gabriella's commute gonna end early, or will she stay ahead of Maniac Harry? Do you think Jeter and Zelda will make it in time, and are they willing to do anything to save the passengers on the death train? I don't know, but I can't wait to find out. So, if you're feeling this slasher horror series, hit the like button. And if you like the content I'm doing, subscribe so I could bring you more content just like this. And I'll see you in the comments. Peace.
It's my life.